Today, Brexit is settled. Does that mean if you're Prime Minister, come hell or high water, whatever the deal on the table, we will be leaving the European Union?
Look, there was a clear vote at the referendum a year ago, but there is now the negotiations which have already begun. I sent a letter to President-elect Macron last night congratulating him on his election and also setting out in broad terms what our aims are in these negotiations. To have good relations with Europe, of course. Secondly, to make sure there is a trade access, a tariff-free trade access to the European market.
And that is what you would hope to achieve. But on that specific point, if you say Brexit is settled, whatever happens in the negotiations, however well or badly they go, we would be leaving if you were Prime Minister.
We will go into the negotiations with a determination to achieve what I've just outlined. And it's not a one-off meeting, it's not a one-off discussion.
That's not quite my question. My question is, if you're Prime Minister, we will leave come hell or high water, whatever is on the table at the end of the negotiations.
We win the election, we'll get a good deal with Europe. A good deal with Europe that will ensure that the very large number of manufacturing jobs in Britain that rely on trade with Europe won't suddenly find themselves under World Trade Organization rules where there will be a tariff wall put up immediately around this country.
But you won't say then that we might potentially stay, or we might just to be completely clear, because people will want to know this. If you're Prime Minister, we will leave whatever happens.
People will know that there's been a referendum and a decision was made a year ago. We've set out very clear our terms for the negotiations. Keir Starmer has built those relationships across Europe, and that is what we'll be pursuing with the European Union.
If you are Prime Minister, can you categorically say that we would definitely leave? Because if you won't, there is a chink of a possibility that things could change and we might end up looking differently at our options.
The danger is of the approach the Conservatives are taking in their megaphone diplomacy with Europe and approaching the whole thing as though all you've got to do is shout loud and be abusive to people across the Channel.
So you won't address that point specifically?
We are negotiating a trade arrangement with Europe and protection of the things that we've gained from the European Union.